Alright, welcome everybody. Let's get right into it. Let's enjoy a quick painting where we're just going to have some fun and do some ideas with a nice country house out in the mountains or the beautiful farmlands. We'll create a sense of excitement and fun with just the idea of a summer day, summer weather. It's warm out. People are taking it easy, vacation time. So we're going to kind of create that mood with our drawing and painting here. And it's just going to be a small composition, a small sketch. We're not going to get too bogged down with, let's say, a tremendous amount of details. Let's keep this real simple, this exercise, and it'll be just a small composition. And we'll get right into it here. So this is something we can all tackle. This is I'm lining up my my page here, so I just want to get my frame here according to my camera. Okay, that's good. Now I'm just going to contour draw an interesting, like a nice, maybe a house out in the countryside. And again here, when we think of a painting, we think of design. So let's say you just have one thought and you say, you know, I'm going to paint a nice, interesting barn or like house out in the countryside. Right away, when we're thinking of design, we think, well, where are we going to place that idea we have? And we always know that as long as let's say we use this type of design layout, we always know we'll be safe if we put our house in either one of these four sections of our painting, of our rectangle. So you can choose whichever location you might want to put the house or the barn or an interesting, you know, subject matter that you have that you're going to do a small composition. And then when you choose one of these locations, then you're going to have other considerations, which will be nothing really too tremendous, but like if you go with this, we'll go with this one. We'll choose this one as our location, which is this right upper right corner. So then these will be, we'll leave these are not going to, those will be the other space around the main focal point. And then here, we might have a road or a pathway going to the house or barn or like that. So once we put it here, we know we're going to have some foreground and middle ground to deal with. And then in the distance, we might have some mountains back here or just maybe some trees and whatever. But so this is just kind of a design idea. This would be preferable to, that would be much better than just, let's say, if you have your rectangle, your paper, your watercolor paper, and you say, I'm gonna do a nice little barn or house. Doing it with breaking it down into the four quadrants would be much preferable. Then just, let's say, like doing this with it in the middle. This would be kind of more sort of boring a little bit, just putting something in the center of the rectangle. If you wanted to go with all subject matter, then that could be exciting if you did just the barn. But if you want to have some roads and some bushes and trees and things in the background, then it's preferable to put it in one of those 4 sections. And then you could have, if we put it here, then we could have more interesting background, maybe let's say in the distance some mountains and trees. So you can kind of create your own design layout that you wish by using this grid pattern of four sections, and then putting your main subject matter in one of those 4, and then coming up with other supporting items in your painting to support that main subject matter. So again, we'll start out, and we're going to go with the section here, this upper right hand section. Maybe there's a fence over here and a hill over here. And again, this is just a composition for fun, and we're going to have a shadow over here, so we'll just denote a little bit of a shadow on the right hand side. So we're sort of just planning a little bit of our light and shadow as we go here, and then we'll do maybe some tree shapes here, and then maybe another cropping of bushes and trees over here. And then some more bushes and trees over here. So this is like in the countryside where there's maybe some mountains and lots of trees and interesting things, nature, lots of nature and branches and trees and all kinds of interesting wildlife. And we'll make another fence over here a little bit. And then we could do a nice, maybe a road here, or a pathway. And then maybe we'll just let that kind of like stop there, and then we'll have maybe some fence posts here. Maybe at one time there was some cattle here. Maybe it was a farmhouse. Okay, so we set up some nice contour drawing here with some fence posts and a little road, and we have our nice barn here, or small house in the countryside. And maybe we'll put some indications of windows. This will be in shade over here. And then some barnwood on the side of the house. And we'll have a shadow under here. And I'll just do a little quick indication of shadow. And again, this is not so much contour drawing. This is just, we're doing a preliminary maybe idea of something we'd want to do in the future for a future painting. So I'm just doing some quick roughing in some shadows so that I know when I go in and paint, I'm going to make a dark shadow here. Maybe some shadow there. And that should be good. And now we're going to use the glazing technique, which is really fun to do. The glazing technique is always fun. It's a little more, goes a little quicker, I think, than direct painting or alla prima painting. So So let's try this out here. Let's go with our first washes. I'll use a pretty large brush. This will use a 16 Da Vinci Maestro. I have a small palette, and we'll do some blue, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue. We'll do some of the sky colors. A little bit of purple, mineral violet. And again, this is fun. We're just having an enjoyable time here, putting in some washes. This is again the glazing technique. So we'll take this blue and purple, and we'll bring it right down into the foreground. It doesn't have to necessarily be everywhere, but we'll try to, again, repeat our colors are all over the painting. So we'll take that blue again and we'll put it down here in the foreground where the grass is and the fence posts. And it's a little bit more, we'll go with a little bit darker tonal value up in the sky area with our blue. And that should be fine. Okay, now you can let this naturally dry. I'm going to take a blow dryer and just do a quick drying of the paper. And that should be fine. And then we can go back in again, and now we're going to do our middle tones. So this here was our very light first glazing. And now we can go in and we'll start washing in our middle tones, middle tonal values. And so we're going to go with the foreground. So we're going to do some foreground with some raw umber, some burnt sienna, some burnt umber, some olive green, one thing about the glazing technique is the first parts of the glazing you can get away with a little bit of drier paint, but once you do your final glazing you need the really thick, wet, goopy paint that's soft and moist so you can really get the darks. So I'm just going to use the I'm painting around the posts somewhat, and And I'm also leaving some white of the paper here and there. Then as I work my way up toward the top, I'm going to try to use a little more green. And again, we're having fun here. We're just putting the paint on. Lots of water. Lots of colors. I'm using some cadmium red too for the foreground. It's summertime. It's summer. Let's have some warm colors. We want to have warm colors in here. And again, I'm going to leave the some white of the paper here and there. And so I went around the posts in some locations. And I bring some of that warm color up into the trees up here. As well as into the barn or the house here, the countryside. Nice, interesting barn style house. And then we're going to make this a red. So now I'm just careful to mix up my colors a little bit. Interesting reds, you know, like mix up the reds, some burnt sienna, some cadmium red. And again, if I use the red up here in the barn, I'm going to try to put some red in some other areas of the painting too, just to have it harmonized. And we're okay. I think we can do a little bit of more green with a little bit of burnt umber and some olive green. Maybe we can block in some a little bit of Viridian, cooler green. We can block in some green back here a little bit just to Alright, so now you can see we have our middle tones, our middle tonal values completed. We left some whites of the paper, and we're going to let this dry, and we'll actually take a short break. I'll let this dry naturally. Maybe I'll use the blow dryer just a little bit, but then we can come back and maybe do our last final glazing, which will be the darkest of the darks. We'll do that. So here I'm just going to get a little bit of, so I'm mixing up some burnt umber, burnt sienna, olive green, and a little bit of sap green, and put a little bit of darks in here and there to kind of just we have time to do a little bit of extra And then if we do just some quick upstrokes here and there, that gives us the feeling of like bushes and trees and things. And of course we're going to do some more with our fence posts here to have that feel of the verticals in the painting. So we're kind of using vertical features in our painting to make it look pleasing, and that tends to be, for landscapes, verticals are a powerful design element in landscape paintings, because you have the trees with the vertical limbs and the grass and the weeds, and then the fence posts here, so we can use that repeating pattern of vertical lines in our painting to make it look really pleasing. Alright, we'll be right back. We'll finish up with our darker tonal values, and the whole painting will come together and look fantastic. So let's come back. We'll do our darker tonal values, and we should have a beautiful, nice, quick composition of a nice, gorgeous country house in the beautiful countryside. We'll be back in just a few.